What is up guys, it's Cal, and in this video I'm going to talk to you all about the Pantheon trinkets that you can get from Anturis the Burning Throne. Now Anturis has been out for a couple weeks now. In fact, I think Wing 4 of it is going to be coming out soon. For LFR, it might already be out, I forget. But there's a lot of confusion around these trinkets that you can get and how they work exactly, because they have a few different buffs to them and they're fairly good trinkets. So first off, let's talk about what they are exactly. So we have Agrimar's Conviction, which is a tank trinket. It gives you agility or strength, depending on your class obviously. And then its equip effect is taking damage has a chance to increase your versatility by a certain amount for 14 seconds. We're not going to worry about Agrimar's Fortitude and that second buff for any of these trinkets at the moment. I'll talk about that in a minute. Next up we have Ionar's Compassion, which is for the healers. It gives you intellect, and your healing effects have a chance to grow an Emerald Blossom nearby, which heals a random injured ally for a certain amount every 2 seconds, which lasts 12 seconds. Then we have Gul'dan's Vitality for agility users. Agility DPS, that is. Your damaging abilities have a chance to create a ravaging storm at your target's location, inflicting a certain amount of nature damage split amongst all enemies within 6 yards over 6 seconds. Then Norganon's Prowess for intellect DPS users, which will give you mastery, and then your damaging spells have a chance to increase your intellect by a certain amount for 12 seconds. Then we have Khaz'groth's Courage, which is for strength DPS. It gives you strength, and your damaging attacks have a chance to make your weapon glow hot with fire of Khaz'groth's Forge, causing your auto attacks to do a certain amount of damage, fire damage that is, for 12 seconds. And that's additional fire damage. And then we have a legendary one, which is Aman'Thul's Vision. This is one that anyone can get. It gives you 1,430 crit, haste, versatility, and mastery, and then the equip effect is your spells and abilities have a chance to grant you 2,200 speed, avoidance, and leech for 12 seconds. Now the legendary trinket, it drops at item level 1000, and the rest of them drop at item level 940 to begin with, but every time you defeat Argus, you get a little sigil thing that you can apply to that trinket, and it increases its item level by 5. You don't have to have the trinket to get the +5 item level thing. Like for example, I didn't get my trinket till about week 3, so I had 3 of those +5 things stored up in my inventory. Now something about the legendary is it does not count to the 2 legendaries you already have equipped. So you're able to have 3 legendaries equipped. The 2 you already have, and then this Aman'Thul trinket. But it is unique to equip, so you can't have the Aman'Thul trinket plus like the Agrimar trinket equipped, or the Gul'dan and the Aman'Thul trinket. You can't have 2 of them equipped at the same time. Now if you want to know which one's better for you, the legendary versus your non-legendary counterparts, you might want to sim your DPS. In a lot of instances I've seen, the non-legendary one, when it gets up to level 1000, is going to be better than the legendary, just because of the sheer amount of main stat that the non-legendary gives you, but you might want to sim your DPS. It kind of depends on your spec. So those are them all. Now how to get them. You have a chance from getting them when you defeat Argus on normal, heroic, or mythic difficulties. It does not drop in LFR. And getting the trinkets are personal loot, so if your raid leader has it on master loot, well, you still want to loot the chest because it has a chance of dropping your trinket for you. So how do they work exactly? Let's take a look at the Gul'dan trinket for a minute. If you see the second buff there called Gul'dan's Thunderous Wrath, when empowered by the Pantheon, your auto attacks cause an explosion of lightning, dealing that amount of nature damage to all enemies within 8 yards of the target, lasts 15 seconds. So that is its Pantheon buff. All of the trinkets have a Pantheon buff. What does it mean by getting empowered by the Pantheon? Well, essentially, you have to have 4 different trinkets proc at the same time. And I'm talking about proc their first equip ability. So for example, if one of your tanks have Agrimar's Conviction, like 2 of your healers have Ionar's Compassion, and then you have 1 DPS, agility user, in the entire raid with Gul'dan's Vitality, well, that is 4 trinkets, but it's only 3 unique trinkets, so the Pantheon buff cannot happen. Now if you have 1 of your tanks with Agrimar's Conviction, 2 of your healers with Ionar's Compassion, like 3 agility DPS with Gul'dan's, 1 intellect user with Norganon, and you know, that's 4 unique ones. If all of their first equip effects proc within the same time window, then you'll all get empowered by the Pantheon. Now there are 6 trinkets total, and only 4 unique ones have to proc. Now the Aman'Thul's Vision is a wild card, so it can fit any role. And by that I mean, if you have 4 people in the raid with Aman'Thul's Vision and no one else has a trinket, but all 4 of the Aman'Thul's Visions proc, then you do get empowered by the Pantheon. And Aman'Thul's Pantheon proc is called Aman'Thul's Grandeur. It does say that it increases your intellect, but it increases your main stat, whatever spec you are. So just as another example, if the tank's trinket procs, and then like 3 seconds later the healer's trinket procs, and then maybe 2 seconds later an intellect DPS user's procs, and then maybe like 3 seconds later, an agility DPS user, their trinket procs. As long as all of those have an overlapping second where they're all active at the same time, then you all get empowered by the Pantheon. So with that being said, the more people in your raid who have the trinket, whether it's the legendary or the non-legendary, the greater chance you are of, well, all of you becoming empowered by the Pantheon. Also, another thing to note, I'm not sure if I've already mentioned this, but let's say for example, you have 10 players who have the Pantheon trinket, and then 6 trinkets proc, 4 of which are unique. Those 6 players will get empowered by the Pantheon, the other 4 will not. So as long as your trinket procs, then you will be one of the ones to get empowered by the Pantheon. That is if, you know, the 3 other unique ones proc. So there's that. That's how they work. There are 6 trinkets total. You need 4 unique ones to proc to get empowered by the Pantheon. The Amanthal's Vision, the legendary, is a wildcard. It fits any other roles. So I guess you could say the more Amanthal's Visions you actually have in the group, the higher chance you have for the Pantheon, the secondary proc, to occur, since that legendary one fills any role. But with all of that being said, I might crush your hopes and dreams right now by saying that the secondary proc, the Pantheon proc, that's what I mean by secondary proc, can only proc in Antares the Burning Throne. It cannot proc in any other dungeons, it can't proc in the open world. Even if you have like a group of 5 people who all have unique trinkets, it still will not proc. It will only proc while you're in Antares. So you might want to hold on to a 3rd trinket just to switch them out, just in case. For Mythic Pluses, I still do like using my gul'dan's Vitality, just because it does good AoE damage, well, pretty good AoE damage, which is important in Mythic Pluses. So yeah, there's that. Hope that cleared some things up if anyone had confusion over that trinket. If you have any questions about it, you can leave it in the comments below. I'll try to answer them if I can. But anyways guys, I hope this video was helpful at all to you. If it was, you can leave a like on it, you can sub to the channel for more videos like this. And I'll see you guys in the next video.